Hey guys, Pastor Jim here, lead pastor of Atmosphere Church. Welcome back to my kitchen table and to another edition of Atmosphere Life Groups. We've been talking about this crazy big thing called love. And before we get into tonight's talk, I want you guys to take a moment and gather together as tight as possible and choose someone to take a life group selfie. All right, so I'm gonna have you press pause right now on this video, huddle up, take the photo, and then text it to me right at that moment so I have it on my phone to look at, okay? So pause the video and we'll get right back into tonight's talk. Ready, set, go. Okay, so here's what we're talking about tonight. We have been looking at 1 Corinthians 13 verses 4 and 5 and really digging into the description of what real, genuine God love looks like. And I'm going to read it to you again. You probably may have memorized this. I'm not sure, but let's read it again. Love is patient. Love is kind, is not jealous. Love does not brag and is not arrogant. It does not act unbecomingly. It does not seek its own, is not provoked, does not take into account a wrong suffered, does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. Now, as you look at that description of love and look at each one of these phrases, I want you to ask yourself a question. How am I doing with that particular part of love? And there's a phrase in the middle of these two verses that we want to look at specifically tonight, and that is love does not seek its own. And you may not understand exactly what that means, and sometimes when that happens, I like to read it from different translations to really land what it's trying to tell us. And the Message says it this way: love isn't always me first. Or as I like to translate it, love isn't living in selfie mode. Because here's what we want to talk about tonight. Taking a selfie pic is good, but living a selfie life is bad. And unfortunately, all of us were born in selfie mode. That's our default setting. I mean, I've never had to teach a toddler how to be selfish. It just comes out of them. And I think as Americans, it's even that much greater inside of us because we have this kind of thing inside of us like we have rights and we deserve this. It's almost like rights and entitlement on top of selfishness. And so most people that I've come in contact with struggle in this area. And what we read from the Bible is that selfishness is at the root of most of our problems that we experience, especially when it comes to the relationships in our life. And so tonight, we just want to look at this idea of selfishness and we want to review how we are to turn off this default setting and stop living in selfie mode. I talked on Sunday and I said it requires 3 steps or requires 3 buttons to hold down and push together. Control, Shift, Delete. Control, Shift, Delete. And that simply is give the controls over to Jesus, deny yourself, follow him, shift your focus from self and put it on God. And then as you do that, God will shift your focus to others and you will be others focused instead of self-focused. And according to the Bible, and even according to research, that living others focused actually allows you to live a more fulfilled life yourself. And here's the last thing, and it's probably the button that is the hardest to push, and that is the delete button. And I think the delete button is really having a moment of clarity spiritually that the person that you used to be is no longer living. That guy, that girl is gone. And there's a scripture in Galatians 2 verse 20 that says, I've been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And so there is this death to self that needs to take place for you to be fully alive and for you to live out the outrageous love that you've been created and called to live out. And I really believe part of deleting self is being baptized with water. I believe water baptism to a believer is a funeral for yourself. It's really giving that clarity that that person that we used to know is no longer living. We're doing a funeral for self. If you haven't been baptized with water, I encourage you to take us up on the offer to baptize you in the next couple of weeks. You can watch for an email announcing the date, or again, listen to announcements this coming Sunday, and we'll have a date for you. We're going to try to do baptisms at the beach here in a couple of weeks. So with that in mind, I want you guys to go ahead and take a few moments and answer the questions that we're going to put up on the screen. And remember, guys, it's connection over content. So if you don't get through all of the questions by the end of your time together, no problem. We want you connecting over getting through all of the content, all right? So pay attention to your screen and have a great life group. And don't forget, text me your life group selfie. See you next time.